This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 349 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's tip is sponsored by ECOGOLD. Visit them at ecogold.ca. Howdy, Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back here to Horse Tip Daily. Well, today we have back with us our nutrition expert. She is Dr. Nerida Richards out of Australia. She is the founder and creator of FeedXL, one of our sponsors here on the Horse Radio Network. And she comes back with us on a regular basis to talk to us in depth about nutrition and horses and what they need to eat and all of that stuff. And we welcome her back. And as I said, you want to visit her website, you can find it at feedxl.com. And we'll be back with Dr. Richards right after these words from today's sponsor, ECOGOLD. Well, you've heard me tell you about ECOGOLD. Now let's hear from one of the professional riders that actually uses the products every day in her professional career. And that is international Canadian eventer Jessica Phoenix, WEG hopeful for 2010. Let's hear from Jessica and see how she likes ECOGOLD.
I love ECOGOLD products. I've used their saddle pads and their cross-country and open-front show jump boots for over a year now, and I'm just thrilled with the results. They're very breathable, they provide great protection, and all of our horses have benefited from using them in competition.
Well, thanks, Jess, and you can learn more about all of ECOGOLD's products by going to ecogold.ca. That's ecogold.ca. Well, hi, Dr. Richards, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me back. It's great.
It's been a while since we've actually gotten to chat, and it's nice to talk to you again. Spring is arriving down there in beautiful Australia, and our winter is coming, so I laughed at you all the last couple months, and now you can laugh at me for the next couple months.
Yeah, I will take great pleasure in telling you how much fun we're having in our pool.
Well, we're talking about supplements we're talking about horse health as we always do. And today we actually are talking about a particular supplement. So tell us what we are going to help people with today.
Okay, today we're going to have a look at biotin and whether or not you should be supplementing your horse. It's a pretty common supplement that people use.
Everybody
but whether
thinks
or
they
not,
need it. Yeah.
Yeah, whether or not it's actually going to solve the problem that people are experiencing with horses' hooves is another question. So,
and you know what? Here in the United States, I don't know, at least from what I'm familiar with, anytime somebody has a problem with a hoof like that, they think biotin is the way to go. So I'm glad we're doing this tip here.
Yeah, I mean, it's sold obviously as a hoof supplement, and it is a very good hoof supplement when it's needed. So it's one of those things that people see a problem with their horse's hooves and they'll immediately go reaching for a hoof supplement. But there's other things that they need to look at first before they do that, because it's not always going to fix the problem.
Okay.
So just a little bit about biotin first. It is an essential vitamin for horses, and it's involved in quite a few things. The main ones are fatty acid synthesis, protein and energy metabolism, and cell proliferation. So it is a really important nutrient for horses to have in their diet. The thing is, though, biotin is actually naturally available to most horses. So it's in their feed. You do get quite a bit of biotin out of feeds, and particularly fresh green forages. So if your horse is on nice green pasture, which they often are, they do get a lot of biotin from that. And also in the horse's hindgut, where there's a lot of fermentation going on by bacteria, the bacteria in there actually do produce a lot of biotin. And that's probably, I would guess, the main source of biotin for a horse.
Okay.
So a healthy horse on a good diet generally is getting enough biotin to meet its needs. So in that situation, if there's a hoof problem, then adding more biotin to the diet is not really going to do very much. So if you're looking at your horse's hooves and your farrier or your trimmer is telling you that, the hoof quality is poor, or you can see that, the hooves are cracking or just not growing fast enough, whatever the hoof problem may be, there's a few things that you need to look at before you go grabbing for a biotin supplement. The first one is the horse's diet. So Other things in the diet can cause problems with hooves, and the main ones that we do see are deficiencies in minerals like copper and zinc, and they're really, really common deficiencies. So if copper and zinc deficiency are a problem in your horse's diet, supplementing with biotin obviously isn't going to have an impact on improving hoof quality because that's not the problem. So you need to assess your horse's diet and see whether any of those deficiencies do exist, and if they do, you have to fix them. And often balancing a horse's diet and making sure that none of those deficiencies exist is enough to get good quality hoof growing again, without actually using any specific hoof supplements as such.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's a little bit like the broken barrel effect. If you've ever seen that picture of like a wine barrel or a whiskey barrel that's got some of the staves broken in it, you can only fill that barrel up with water to the point of the lowest broken plank.
Right.
So if in your horse's diet copper, for example, is the lowest broken plank, adding other nutrients in to increase the height of those planks is not going to do anything because you can still only fill that barrel up with water to the level of copper, if that makes sense.
Right. Yep.
It's a little need a picture to demonstrate that. But so you need to make sure everything is in the diet. The other thing that you should pay attention to when looking at the horse's diet is the quality of protein that is going in there. So if your horse is primarily on a pretty poor quality forage diet, so dried off pasture or lower quality hay, the quality of protein in that diet may not be good enough to support good quality hoof growth. So you may need to add something like a bit of alfalfa hay or a soybean based product or something like that, just to increase the quality of the protein in there, because hoof obviously is made from protein, so you need to feed good quality protein in the diet so that they can grow good quality hoof. And the last thing to do with the diet is make sure that it is supporting hindgut health. So don't feed any uncooked grain. So if you're feeding a lot of grain like cracked corn or cracked barley or something like that, that's going to get into the hindgut and upset the natural balance of bacteria in there, that will affect hoof quality because it's going to affect the amount of biotin that the bacteria can produce. So having your diets based on good quality forage, so there's a nice lot of fermentation going on in the hindgut, and making sure that nothing is getting into the hindgut and actually upsetting that fermentation process is really, really important for maintaining good hoof growth. So I do see on studs occasionally when you'll get a young horse, a young thoroughbred horse, and they'll get diarrhea, and no matter what any vet does or what we do to it, you just cannot stop these horses from having diarrhea. And don't ask me why, but if I watch those youngsters over time, and gradually their hoof quality gets really poor, and it has to be because they're just, even though they're on green pastures generally, they're just not getting enough biotin because their hindgut's not functioning properly, and so the bacteria obviously aren't producing enough biotin to support their hoof growth.
You see that
really
a lot around here in Lexington with the babies and the diarrhea. Yeah.
So you have a look at a horse with diarrhea, like constant diarrhea, and you'll see that they often have bad quality hooves. And the other ones that are renowned for having bad quality hooves are, at least in Australia, our thoroughbreds in training that are fed a lot of cracked grains, like a lot of cracked corn and barley and things. So their hindgut function just isn't normal, and after a while it just impacts on their hoof quality.
See, I never put those together.
Yeah, it's it also too because they're being constantly shod and running on hard surfaces and things like that. But so there's a lot of other complicating factors. But their diet has got a big role to play in how bad their hooves generally are when they've finished training.
We always had draft horses, and hooves were always a problem with the drafties too.
Yeah,
we would end up with problems and issues with the draft horses too. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, I hope now, of course.
So
go ahead.
Sorry, there is a few situations when biotin is useful and should be used.
Okay.
So in those cases of horses with chronic diarrhea, like they're just not going to make enough biotin in their hindgut, and there's not a lot you can do. Like if you can't stop them from having diarrhea, which in some cases you can't, feeding them biotin is actually quite important because they're not getting enough out of their gut. If your horse is going to be on a high grain diet for an extended period of time, so horses that are in training and do need those really high grain diets, if you're finding that their hoof quality is declining despite having them on a balanced diet and despite feeding cooked grains and doing everything you can to disrupt the hindgut as much as possible, those horses would benefit from biotin as well. Horses that have been on long-term use of oral antibiotics, because it can disrupt the bacteria in the hindgut and reduce the amount of biotin produced there. And also older horses. Sometimes older horses do lose quite a bit of function in their hindgut and the ability to produce that biotin. So if you're finding that your older horse is getting poorer quality hooves, then a biotin supplement may help in that situation as well. And of course there's the random cases where you do everything you can, you balance the horse's diet, you make sure there's plenty of forage, you take grains out of their diet, you do all those sorts of things and hoof quality still doesn't improve. In that situation I would suggest trying a biotin supplement as well. It's just don't do it as the first thing. Make sure everything else is in place first, and then if that still isn't working, then go for the biotin supplement.
All right, great. And of course, people can find out where do they go if they want to find out if they are feeding their horses correctly and if they're getting enough of everything.
Yeah, I should mention that, shouldn't
I?
Yeah,
you probably should.
So I love, we're always telling us as nutritionists, we're always saying, make sure your horse is on a balanced diet. It's like, what is that? So if you go to feedxl.com, I've got a really neat little tool on there where you can tell FeedXL about your horse, and then you tell FeedXL what you're feeding, and it will highlight for you if there's problems like copper and zinc deficiency or not enough quality protein in the diet. So it makes it really easy to see where problems may be occurring and then to fix them.
Very good. That's feedxl.com. And thank you, Dr. Richards.
No worries. Thanks, Glenn.
Well, don't forget, you can visit all the shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. We have some fantastic ones that came out this week over on the eventing, dressage, jumping, and also Stable Scoop. Helena did the show all by herself this week. I think you want to check that out, one-on-one with Daniel Stewart. And then also there was a terrific show over at the Western Radio Show. They had a couple of international known country singers on there, and it was a lot of fun. So check out all the different shows at the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. I think you'll like what you hear. And, of course, we thank you for being a listener to Horse Tip Daily. You can reach me at Glenn, two N's, at Horse Tip Daily. Let's start that over. Glenn with two N's, it's Friday. Glenn with two N's at horseradionetwork.com. And also, you can follow us on Facebook. Just search for Horse Tip Daily and become a fan on there. You can listen to the shows right on there, and we remind you when they come out every day. So we look forward to you listening in for the next year. We're very excited about what 2010 brought to the Horse Radio Network, and we're very excited about the new things to come in 2011. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a great ride. We'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone, and wear your helmet.
The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.